And we are live. Welcome to a very special edition of Gold Standard with myself, Troy Francis, and next to me, regular guest on the show, the king of the manosphere, by all accounts, not the president, but the king. We have Mr. Capella, God amongst men.
Hell yeah.
How are you?
Man, I gotta be honest with you. I'm doing awesome. Obviously, I've been pretty busy lately, but at the same time, I've kind of picked the game up. I went on a little monk mode kind of deal for like 3 weeks. Obviously, what we'll talk about more towards the end here. I'm publishing my second book as we speak, and I had to kind of dig in and kind of go and do that. But, it's been good. It's been good.
Hitting it hard again.
The past couple, and I'm not even trying at this point in time. So it's kind of one of those things. Like I tell this to guys too. Like when you're on your purpose, when you're accomplishing goals, things that you set out, man, that's actually one of the most ultimate forms of seduction. To be honest with you, is because you exude something. You exude something when you're that guy. When you're rocking and rolling that way, and fucking women can feel it, man. It's palpable.
It's
like they
true.
want. They're like they're like, what's up with that? Right. And even via, I mean, because I'm big, I'll go through my kind of philosophy and theory when it comes to how your dating structure should be, but even via online dating, that is still transferred or transmitted somehow, some way. I honestly couldn't tell you, but
really?
I call that magnetism. I'm a big fan of magnetism. I think that's actually what runs the world. I think magnetism is everything. Everyone will go into like the law of attraction and all this other stuff. But I think magnetism is what it comes down to. And I even talk about that a little bit in my book as well.
That's cool, because it's interesting actually, because I think we probably like intersect on some of this stuff. Because what I've been getting into recently, and I mean, I've titled the show "Charisma and the Culture" because I wanted to talk about like charisma because it's something that I've been talking about a lot recently. It's something I've been sort of like doing a lot of research into as well. Because, and maybe you'll agree with this, but for me, I think when I look back on doing game and all of that stuff and the dating stuff, I sort of think and I've been thinking this for over a year now, like a year and a half, really trying to analyze, if I've had any success in that field, what's given me that success? And I think what it comes down to is not so much like learning the techniques or learning lines or sort of like anything to formula. I think what it's really come down to is having that, like you call it magnetism, I'm saying charisma, but having that sort of X factor is the thing that really turns the dial. Is that, would you agree with that?
My man, here's the thing is there's too many people out there that dive too deep into the theory and they don't have the soft skills.
Yeah.
So there's so many people out there that are going to be like, they'll go and they'll read like the Rational Male. They'll go and read the game. They'll go and try to pick up Mystery Method. They'll go read Mode 1. They'll do all these other things. And they don't know how to actually apply it, like the little chemical ingredients that they need in order to really to get there, right? Well, because and here's the thing is that this stuff comes from you.
Yeah.
Right? It comes from you. You have your own specific sauce. If I'm going to get into that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Your game specifically comes from you. And I always started off here. First and foremost, how it happened for me was knowing my own self-worth. Okay. When I knew my own self-worth, when I realized that the best relationship that I can maintain and I guess organize and like pedestalize is my own relationship with myself. Why? Well, because I'm not trying to come out here and be like, I'm the shit. But at the end of the day, you enter this world alone. You fucking live your life, pretty much the majority of your life alone, going through things on your own emotional takes, your own perspectives, your own journeys, your own struggles, and then you fucking die alone. So why not cultivate that relationship with yourself as number one?
Yeah, okay? Exactly.
So once you have that, and once you realize that type of stuff, once you're like, fuck, man, I love myself, essentially is really what that comes down to. You don't really need to, I hate to say you don't need to love anything else, but in the sense that what it used to be back in the day for me was I was falling in love with all these other things external to myself, and it was leaving me disappointed. It was leaving me really disappointed because I prioritized it, right? And it gave away the ultimate control of having something or someone being able to dictate how I felt about my own self or about my own reality or my own perspectives. And it wasn't until I did that kind of stuff where I honed in, you know, via meditation, via my shamanic rituals, via a whole bunch of other stuff, was I like, all right, my relationship with myself, number one. And that changed my game dramatically with people in general.
Yeah.
It's like, that was like the beginning of me establishing boundaries. I talk about this a lot now today. Establishing boundaries, having non-negotiables. Those are the biggest things that men are missing in today's world, because once you have those non-negotiables, like these are, say, obviously, let's break the term down. Non-negotiable. It means that I will not negotiate. I'm not like, these are things that are part of my life. I will not negotiate with, right? These are here to stay. It doesn't matter who comes into my life. It doesn't matter if the fucking Queen of England herself comes knocking on my door with fucking tea and crumpets and it's like, hey, you want to do this? It's like,
naked.
Sorry, I got to go to jujitsu right now. It's jujitsu time, sweetheart. Like, you can sit your ass on that couch and wait for me, or you can fucking come back at 1:30. But that's what this guy's doing. It's like, man, that's fucking powerful, right? And like, how does that tie into charisma? Shit. I mean, the big thing is when you do that, you're able to now deliver your message, because a lot of people don't understand the message that they have to deliver. Okay. So if you don't know the message you have to deliver, are you going to be confident when you do present it? Or is it going to be delivered in a way that's, you know, what I'd consider like seductive? That's my other big thing that I talk about now is like seduction, you know, like men don't know how to fucking be seductive. That's your greatest tool. I mean, you've read The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, right? I know you've
I have, and I'm going through it again now with a bloody pen, like underlining every other line, because there's just so much gold in that book, isn't there? It's just incredible.
It's so much. But what I took away, obviously, was right in the beginning, he starts talking about Cleopatra and Mark Antony and all that other good stuff, right? And how Cleopatra wasn't a good-looking woman, but her seductive skills, her own worth, the way that she presented herself, and the way that she was able to use sex in order to get two men to war against each other. And she pretty much toppled an entire, this is another reason why you don't let women lead, but, but she toppled an entire empire, right? The greatest empire at that moment because of seduction, right? Because she was able to use her sexual magnetism to get there, you know? And men have it. And that's what I'm trying to say right now is that I think men are actually more seductive, just like men are more romantic. We are the arbiters of sex. And why is that? I mean, biologically, genetically, we're the ones that need to fucking, we're the ones that need to go and get the sex in order for the species. So we've had to work on years and years and years and generations and fucking whatever to do that stuff, you know? So
and it's interesting when you're wearing that crown and the furry coat and everything. And I'm peacocking a little bit. I got the red handkerchief here and the red shirt and stuff. And it's sort of like it's interesting how in nature, it is the male often in the species that peacocks more, isn't it? Literally, when you look at peacocks, they've got the massive feathers and everything. It's the guy who's more flamboyant, the guy who does that kind of outward display of like, look at me.
For sure. Well, I mean, women are also attracted to beauty because women are beautiful themselves. So I started doing something new too. Every time after I fornicate with a new lady,
fornication.
I said,
I hope Roosh isn't watching.
Oh man, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. He's probably having a meltdown completely. Anyway. Fuck, where was? Oh yeah. So I sit them down afterwards too, completely agreed upon. And actually, these girls love it, and I do an interview with them because they see my entire podcast studio that I have set up. Yeah, I call it Post Smash Interviews. It's on my Patreon if you guys are interested in that. It's fucking gold, though. I'm telling you, it's gold. These girls are giving out pearls of wisdom on seduction, on sex. One girl I'm with is like, actually two girls I'm with are like big time in the BDSM and stuff like that. So they talk about dominance and submissiveness and all this other stuff, what they're looking for in a man, like fucking pearls of wisdom. And the other thing, the reason why I brought that up is because most of these girls are bisexual. And women, I mean, because I think all women are bisexual. They understand and appreciate the art form that is women. It's like looking at exotic cars. That's what I lump women into. like when you look at exotic cars, why are they so alluring and attractive? It's because they hit the right ratios of symmetrics and symmetry and curvature and power and just all that good stuff. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what a woman is. So, like if you're a Lamborghini, you can appreciate a Ferrari, I'd say, right? Because it's like, oh, we're kind of all cut from the same cloth, and there's like a sexual magnetism that's driven there too. So,
well, again, and again, I mean, I'd be really interested to hear what some of the girls. Is there any commonalities between what the girls are saying and without giving too much of your Patreon content away? You know, this post after the event, are they saying similar things about, you know? Because I'm guessing you're maybe asking them when was the moment when you decided that we were going to get intimate and that sort of thing. And is there some commonality there?
Yeah, there's some commonality there. Yeah, and we go even deeper into the weeds than just that surface level stuff too. But it's man, it's fucking awesome. If you guys want to check those out too, it's just Patreon, patreon.com/God Amongst Men. $10 for you to be able to hear those interviews. And I mean, that's fucking, it's pure gold.
That is
hearing these women. Yeah. I sit them down right on my lap. Most of them aren't even fucking dressed yet. And they're like, okay, let's do this. It's like, fuck, this is super fucking cool.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
That is really interesting.
I'm following the leader, man. There's something about that orange glow. You know, believe it or not, too, actually, women can tell men that are of higher testosterone the more red their skin is. And it's something that they're attracted to.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah. So on the topic of charisma, right? So like there's been various obviously different definitions over the years. So the first, I think the root of it is from the Greek term charisma or with a K. And that means sort of like it's almost like a divine thing. It's like a gift from God. So there's this inherent in the word is this idea of almost like divine or spiritual sort of properties, and that's sort of still in it a little bit. But of course, these days it's you know, now we call anyone charismatic who's like been on, you know, some reality TV show or something. So it's been sort of degraded a little bit. But now, in the book The Charisma Myth by a lady called Olivia Fox-Caban, which is a really interesting book about charisma and how you can acquire it and improve it in yourself. She defines it like this, and I think this is as good a definition as I've seen. She basically says charisma is power, presence, and warmth, and it's the combination of those things. And what she says is, if you've got like a couple of them, but you haven't got the other one, then you're going to you're not going to come across right. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got power and you've got presence, but you haven't got warmth, then you might seem overly controlling and sort of like a bit tyrannical. Whereas if you've just got warmth, that's cool, but then you're going to come over as the nice guy. You haven't got that steel behind you. So what do you make of that?
Well, I think that's a beautiful interpretation of charisma, honestly. Charisma has a lot to do with likability, right? So everything that you said in there too, when you talk about those actual dynamics, it just really comes down to whether or not somebody likes you and whether or not someone's going to continue to keep on listening to you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think every idea has already been, I guess, promoted underneath the sun, right?
Yeah.
Now everything is just being repackaged. We're starting to see this with Hollywood, right? It's like they can't come up with new scripts because it's already been fucking done, right? So they got to repackage it somehow, some way. Why am I saying this? Well, it really comes down to how people have an emotional response to what you present. Okay. And 90% of what you say doesn't matter as long as someone likes you, right? So people are only listening to maybe 10% of what you say, but 90% comes down to whether or not they like you. It's like, why did Hitler rise? Well, it's because they fucking loved Hitler, right? Essentially that's what it comes down to. And that's really what charisma comes down to as well, is it's the ability to get people to take action in what you say and what you feel.
Yeah.
It's making emotion palpable, right? It's making magnetism, really, honestly. It's making people be drawn into your circle and into your sphere and into your influence, and letting them know and feel as though it's going to be okay. Really, because that's really all people want. People just want to be like, okay, well, I can do these things even though I know it's dangerous, but I just want to know that I'm going to come out safe on the other end.
Yeah.
It's like that's really what charisma comes down to as well. And here's the thing. So I was starting to talk about it a little bit earlier, but a lot of you guys approach this stuff like seduction and game and charisma in a sense of like a technical manual of like, okay, I read this book. Boom. All right, I got it. And then it's like, all right, input fucking alt seduction, input fucking, input alt charisma. I'm gonna go up to this girl and I'm gonna say this line, and that's charismatic. And it's like, no. Like 80% of it comes down to your own body language, your own self-control, the way that you gaze into her eyes in a way, the way that you hold yourself, the way that your tonality is. Right. The not just tonality, but also like, I guess like pitch and like draw. Right. I talk about this a lot with my guys right now. A lot of men will go up to a woman and they'll be like, hey, how you doing? My name's Corey. I like you. And I think you're cute. You want to go out sometime? And it's like, ouch. Right. And it's because it's like, oh, my heart's beating real fast. I want to get in and out of this shit. I don't want to look stupid. So I just like fucking fire and forget kind of deal. And like, as awesome as that is that you went and did the approach, it's like the slower you talk and the more kind of like movement you give yourself. Right. Because a lot of people stand there erect, right? Like strict, like their spine is just one straight thing. And they're just like, right. It's like, feel it. Feel comfortable in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like that's how, like, I'll lean a little bit or something and I'll just be like, hey, so I just wanted to let you, I just wanted to let you know, like, see how I like lower my voice down a little bit and I'm comfortable. I'm taking the right pauses. Because here's the thing, a man of value realizes that his time is important. And when he's giving you his time, right, that's a gift. That's my gift. That's my gift to women. My gift to women is my time and my attention. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't give girls gifts. I don't give them physical presents or anything like that. What do I give them? Right. I give them my time and my attention. That's the most valuable resource that I have to give in any type of relationship. So that's the stuff that you have to take into consideration. It's like, and this is the one part that I want to get into for when it comes to charisma. So it's like, all right, Corey, you're telling me that I can't just read a book to get charisma. So I'm fucked if I'm one of these dweebs that sits in. Sorry if that I'm calling you a dweeb, right? I try not to put men down that are not alpha or that aren't in the game. Like, I want men to get in the game. I want you to go and approach the unapproachable. I want you to take the chances. I want you to go and do this stuff. Like, that's the only way that's going to get you out of that old ideal of what you hold yourself as. So how do you train charisma? How do you get there? What do you do? Right. It's like, is it trainable? Or because obviously I'm sitting here saying you can't get it out of a manual. So how do you get there? How do you get there? Well, Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, interestingly, right, there's a guy at the University of Lausanne. There's an academic professor there in the economics department called John Antonakis, and he studies charisma. He studies it in an academic way, and and you can look up and see he's got like YouTube videos and stuff like that, and he's been interviewed, and he says quite unequivocally, it can be learned. And he said the reason he knows that is because he's done training, or these guys have done training with speakers, and they've given them, I think he calls them CLTs, which stands for something like charisma something or other, but he gives them little tips on how they can improve their presentation. And a lot of it, interestingly, it's a lot of the stuff we talk about in the game space. A lot of it is things like storytelling, using emotive language, varying up your tonality, all that kind of stuff. So they've done tests where they've given speakers these things and tweaked their presentation, and then the audience has rated them, the same people, more charismatic the second time around. So it shows that if you take certain things on board, you can increase your levels of charisma. Now, obviously, we're in a sort of like slightly different. Well, I mean, people listening to this, they might be, you could apply this stuff in business as well and socializing. Obviously, we tend to be talking primarily about game, but I think it works across the board, doesn't it? I think there are things that you can you definitely can learn, but it's not necessarily easy, is it? That's the thing.
No, it's not easy at all. And that's the thing that it comes down to. So what I've come to realize is this, and it's something that I talk about, obviously, in my new book. Our school systems, the way that you all have been educated, has been the most disastrous thing for being an overall well-rounded individual, especially as a man. 80% of successful people, 100% of successful people have this ratio. They have 80% soft skills, 20% soft skills, 20% hard skills. 80% soft skills, 20% hard skills. And what that comes down to, and what are the soft skills, right? So what are soft skills? Soft skills are your ability to converse, your ability to negotiate, having this charisma, having that seduction, having the ability to, I guess, push through, like things like grit, things like courage, right? Things like being able to tamp down approach anxiety, sales, for instance. This is essentially where a lot of these things come into, and that's what I would say to most of you guys. A lot of people come to me today in the world and they're like, Corey, I want to be a real estate mogul, or I want to do XYZ, or I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a leader of industry, and in this environment, I want to be an influencer. And they're going to school for fucking STEM, right? They're going to school for some type of mechanical engineering or whatever. I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, well, it's a safe bet. No matter what, I'm always going to be able to get a job in this department and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're fucked. You're fucked off the bat, right? Like, you understand that what you've gone through your entire life up to this point, going to elementary school, middle school, high school, community college, and now college, especially in the sense of doing an engineering degree, all of that is hard skills. Everything you've been taught up to this point is all you need to do is just like specify and or specialize in one field, in one type of thing, and that's the hard skills, and that's how you're going to be successful. It's like, no, you need to go out there and you need to do something where you're going to get the soft skills. And what can you do in order to get the soft skills? Quit fucking school and go and get a job in marketing or sales. So that's what I did just recently. Like 2 years ago, I was like, fuck this. I'm done. Like, I'm not done with school, but I'm done making school a priority.
Yeah.
So I went and I got a job selling timeshare. Wow. Talk about, dude, I never knew really about timeshare, but what I did know is that it's one of the hardest sales jobs in the world, right? It's like,
is that direct customers? That's direct to people at home, is it?
They come into you, right? Okay. So they're warm leads already. They're coming to you, and you have a 2-hour time frame, supposedly, right? To be able to sit with this family and convince them, right? The marketers have marketed to them a free gift, a free trip somewhere. And the stipulation is, in order to get your free gift, you have to sit through this sales presentation for 2 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know one single person that has ever come into a timeshare presentation saying, I'm coming in here to buy a timeshare today. So you have to literally sell these people. And you got to use every tool. You got to use every tool in your fucking breadbasket. And that's a lot of it has to do with charisma. A lot of it has to do with seduction. A lot of it has to do with negotiation, right? And that's a thing too, is and this is where, let's talk about this real quick, because I'd love to know how you feel about this situation. I talk to a lot of guys right now who end up walking into the trap of getting into like arguments and debates with these women on their dates. Like, for instance, I have one guy who said something the other day where he's like, I was on this date with this girl, and she brought up something about being super liberal. And she started talking about, let's say, like the Women's March or something like that, for instance, and then looked at me and said, "You're not a Trump supporter, are you?" And it's like, in that moment, he got mad and he got defensive, and he's like, I got to push back on this feminist and prove that I'm alpha by arguing with her right now. So then they got into a fucking long drawn out discussion about fucking politics, and she started asking him about fucking abortion rights and all this other shit. And let me ask you a question. Have you ever banged? Well, I mean, I shouldn't ask you this because you could probably flip it, but the majority of the time, have you ever found arguing to be seductive?
No, not at all. I mean, it's all of that stuff is just a massive buzzkill, isn't it? All of that politics stuff and everything, discussing that on the date, it's just not productive in any sense of the matter at all.
Yeah. So, and that's what it comes down to. And this is what I'm trying to teach guys is it's no longer about having the conversations that you have with these women, right? And just with anybody in general. You're better off not trying to butt heads. You're better off trying to figure out a way to hit them emotionally, so to speak. Right? Because that's really all that's really all people want. When people start to kind of freak out in that environment, when they try to do those types of things, they're actually just trying to communicate something to you. Right? They're just trying to be heard in a way. So how can you make someone feel heard, but then make them feel safe, like I just said, but then also make them come over to your side sexually, right? Because that's what you're trying to do with these women. The goal is to try to seduce.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, there was a school of thought, just on that point about the politics, there was a school of thought, and there were guys in the UK doing this who would sort of like go around wearing Trump hats and actually go up and approach girls, and their rationale was sort of like, well, man, if she doesn't, it's showing polarity, it's showing that I'm steadfast in my views. If she doesn't agree, fuck her and everything.
Yeah.
But for myself personally, I just think, why are you like, yes, you've got to, you can't be a yes man. You can't be agreeing with every single thing she says. It's fine to push up against things she says, but why make it deliberately hard for yourself, and why go into something that you just know is massively contentious? I mean, why just, why even go there? Do you know what I mean? Like, you might as well, it's much better to keep it light, I think, in the first.
I agree. Wear it deep down. And this is like what I'm saying. So that comes down to identity. People are like, oh, well, my identity is what should seduce this woman. My identity is what should be charismatic. And it's lazy, right? It really is lazy. What it comes down to in that instance is, even if you are a Trump supporter, even if you are fucking pro-masculine, even if you're red pill, like, it's not when you're on this date, it's not your duty to sit there and stand your ground and be like, oh, my ideology is way better, so fuck you, shut up, ho, or something like that. And like, now I'm going to bonk you on the head and take you to my bedroom and dominate you and show you that my masculine penis is going to be able to convert you from feminism. It's like, that's not how you win it, man, to be honest with you. Like, I got a MAGA cup over here sitting on my countertop. But up until that point, even then, like, I don't even fucking care about politics, but I think Trump is fucking dope. I think the dude's alpha as fuck, right? Like, who wouldn't want to change positions with that dude, straight up? But what it comes down to is, none of that stuff is going to get brought up. I'm not going to wear any of it, and I'm not even attached to it emotionally to the point where I'm going to be like, oh no, shut up. You're like, oh no. Like, instead, when a girl will start to bring something up like that on the date, it's your job to like tamp that stuff down and figure out a way to make it, like, again, going back to it, like magnetic, right?
Yeah.
Like, create some type of like surge. It's so let me explain magnetism to you guys real quick, if you really want to understand this. Magnetism it's the dance between the masculine and the feminine. I'm a very, very masculine man, but I don't come out there in the sense of like what that whole 1950s, like, I'm a man type of thing is, where I fucking wear like 5'11" cargo pants and combat boots and tight tucked in black shirt with a fucking high and tight. And I walk up and I've got tattoos all over my place. And I just pulled up in my Harley and I just spit tobacco or dip out and all this other shit. And I'm like, hey, I'm the man. I'm eating steak right now. You like that? It's like there's a dance. There's a dance where you got to like masculinity to me, honestly, is your ability to hold your boundaries, right? But then do it in a way where it's like, it's not upfront aggressive and just like punch you in the face. It's like, man, again, I'll talk about this too. When I wear fragrances, like, I wear fragrances that are like not masculine whatsoever. They're not going to come out and punch you in the face and be like, yo, I'm wearing something. This is fucking manly. It's like, instead, it's like a drip, right? It's like this drip of like constant, like kind of pecking at their boundaries, where it's like, I'm kind of liking this. I'm kind of liking this. I want more. I'm liking this. I want more. I'm liking this. I want more. And it's like this constant, like, beep, 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 like kind of like hitting it to the point where they're like, okay. And I'm escalating as it goes on to bring them over into my deal. That's what I think is the dance between the masculine and feminine. That's what the magnetism comes down to for me personally. It's me chipping away at her boundaries by doing certain things.
Yeah. And the other thing I've been thinking recently is really important. I think I did a whole stream yesterday about creating mystery. And what I was basically sort of saying was that in the first, from the first approach and in the first date and stuff like that, I mean, I'm talking really pre-sex, let's say. But probably for quite a long time afterwards, I was saying that you need to retain some sense of mystery about you, and also distance as well. And that's the thing, like not hanging out with her 3 times a week or whatever, but putting that to one side, a bit of a sense of mystery about you, so she can't quite work you out. And I think one of the problems with talking about, say, Trump or something, or like Brexit here in the UK, for example, is that it suddenly becomes very logical. It suddenly becomes very, well, if you look at the GDP and all this kind of shit, and it's like that's not sexy, and you're sort of you're then constrained. You're showing her the type of guy you are. You're like, right, he's that kind of dude. I can put him in a box. Do I like him or not? Well, maybe not. If you've got that sense of mystery about you, she can't quite figure you out. Then she's going to be more fascinated. And just that little thing you were saying about the fragrance, it's a like, to me, it sounds like a little bit of like, because obviously you present as a very masculine alpha dude and everything, but if you put in these little tips, little like hints of something else, it kind of like not messes with my mind, but it's sort of like,
no, you're 100% right.
Where do I place this guy?
Yes.
And that's interesting.
Fucking A, dude. That's exactly what it is. And that's how all the fragrances that I wear, that's how it is too. Like that, those are my favorite ones. The ones that even myself, like, this is how I got into it. I remember smelling this one fragrance. It's called Tom Ford fucking Fabulous, right? And first of all, it's kind of a gay name because obviously everything's like, ooh, fabulous, right? It's like in that space. I was like, huh, that's weird. But I'm sitting here and I'm smelling this thing and I'm just like, I can't fucking place my finger on this shit and it's driving me crazy. I was like, this has to happen to other people too.
Yeah.
And like I went up to this super hot girl at Lululemon too. And I'm like, I just walked right up to her and I go, smell this. It was on my arm. And she goes, no. And I was like, wow, she had that strong of a reaction to it. But then I remember saying, but if I wear this boldly, I bet you 100% that women will love it. 100%. And it's going to be my fucking niche thing. And it's going to keep them guessing. Like, why is this guy who is super bold and masculine and alpha, why is he rocking something like this? It's like that guy, exactly like what you said. It just adds this layer to mystery. And that's kind of where, like, that's exactly how you got to be. I honestly believe the same thing. Yeah. You like, ooh, that's perfect, man. It even goes back to the sales, I believe. Right. So like, I'm sitting here thinking about myself on the sales floor. And here I am, I'm a salesperson trying ultimately to get these people to buy at the end of the 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But during that time, I end up becoming their friend. I end up becoming their confidant. I end up becoming their consultant. And I start breaking these barriers of what they've already codified me as, right? Of what they've already kind of like put me into like the categories like you talked about. And that's where the sale actually ends up happening. Yeah. It's like, this guy has completely blown my mind as to what category I lumped him into. And that is what opens them up emotionally in a way to start a connection. And once you have that connection, man, it's really hard for people to say no to you. It's really hard for people to say no to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think when you walk in, and I'm not saying it's going to work every time because obviously girls have different types, and and there's all this other stuff going on the meta level. But when you walk in, you've got to not be easy to work out, and you've got to be different in some way to what she's used to. You can't be one of these normie dudes who's just like, you're wearing your Gap khakis and all the rest of it, and you've got to give her something else, because and I don't know about you, but I just think clearly the dating marketplace, I mean, well, it's you're clearly having a fantastic time of it, but like, we are in this global dating marketplace now. There is this whole thing that there's more competition because of Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I just think you need to work on your USPs. You need to work on it so that you stand the fuck out. Would you agree with that?
USP, is that what you said?
Yeah, like unique selling points. You've got to like you've got to have something about you. I think that's what it comes down to, because otherwise you're just going to get passed over.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you could sit here and lament all day long of like, oh, it's a global marketplace and blah 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 blah. I'm never gonna get there kind of deal. I'm not fucking Tate. I don't have millions of dollars, and I'm not a playboy. I'm not Dan Bilzerian. I don't know how I'm ever gonna get there. Or you can sit here and be like, all right, here's my fucking station in life. Every single day I'm going to work to get better. But in the meantime, I'm also going to withdraw the dividends of the hard work that I'm putting in. Like, I go to the gym every single day. My style is pretty fucking good, right? And I'm not buying expensive stuff, other than like I brought up buying a pretty expensive fragrance or whatever. But that's like the cherry on top, right? I don't fucking rock Gucci. I don't have any of this other stuff. I go to H&M. I buy, I mean, shit, I'm wearing a $5 fucking V-neck right now. I go and buy a few of those every once in a while. I own like 5 of these too. So this is like, the black V-neck is like the staple of my style. And then I just accessorize.
That's all you need. That's all you need. You know,
I agree.
You accessorize it. You look. It looks fucking cool. That's all you need.
Right.
And people make this mistake.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, people make this mistake, don't they, about style? You need to be spending like hundreds of dollars and stuff, and you really don't. You really don't. In fact, sometimes if you get something really good that fits in H&M or whatever, that's as good.
Way better. That's $1 million. It's a $5 shirt that makes you look like $1 million. Because women are naturally inherently drawn to your taper, and if you present your taper somehow, some way as well, that's huge. I also realized a while ago, I don't like any of these designer shirts that have like Gucci print all over it or whatever. To me, that looks tacky. That looks really tacky. I would much rather show off what I've worked for and who I am as a person, right? That doesn't mean I don't like designer stuff. It just means I don't like. I'm watching this one kid right now, Vehicle Virgins on YouTube. He keeps buying all these fucking crazy cars. 25-year-old kid. And he's just so fucking bad with women. He's so bad with women. And he's wearing shirts that says like Givenchy on it and stuff like that. And I'm just like, dude, that isn't going to get you anywhere. Like you flaunting and leading with your wallet does not, it doesn't take place of game or charisma or magnetism or any of this stuff or seduction. Like that needs to be your base. And that's where you guys are at right now. Luckily, all these guys that are listening to us and stuff, like none of them are fucking, internet superstars. Like you're better off right now. This is what I call it. Like you're better off right now being in the trenches when it comes to game and learning game, because no one can ever take that from you. It's a skill set that it's like transmutable in a way. No one can take that from you, no matter where you're at. Like we've heard stories of guys that are 300 pounds that have game and pull fucking 9s and 10s, right? It's like you can be that guy if you have game, because it's just a means of you being able to draw people in, really is what it comes down to. I mean, you're never gonna be batting 1,000. I'll tell you that much. You're never gonna be doing that, right? So there's no golden gun out there. There's no secret pill. There's no freaking magical tonic or any of that stuff. All it comes down to is just putting in the work. You know, it's a numbers game as well, but
it is.
Yeah,
it is the numbers game. I just on the clothing thing, I've got a confession here now. I sort of fell into the delusion years ago when I was younger. I fell into the delusion for a while that dressing cool or dressing with expensive stuff would get you action, you know. And I remember I used to go to Ibiza a lot, which is the sort of Spanish party island. You know, it's kind of Vegas-y type place on the Mediterranean. And we go there. I go there with my mates, and I used to spend I would go and buy expensive designer T-shirts and shit like that. And you'd be in the club, and this was sort of pre-game, and you'd be in the club, and then you'd sort of be standing there, and then the girl, and the girl gives, says hi or whatever, and then she just goes and talks to some dude wearing a bloody, $7 fucking, V-neck, and you're standing there thinking, hang on a minute, I've spent this money, what the, where's the attention? But of course, what you realize when you get out there is that that's just got fuck all to do with it. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It really doesn't matter. So we all make these mistakes, but you just need to learn. It's down to your charisma, and it's down to your ability to perform in a social setting that's going to make the difference. But what I was thinking of doing was, can I just read you from The Art of Seduction. I mean, obviously you've read the book, so you'll be familiar with this. But Robert Greene identifies some elements of charisma, and they're kind of really interesting in terms of what we're saying. So do you mind if I just read them out and just
go for it? It's your show, man. Absolutely, I'm here.
So this, I think this is towards the beginning of the book, and he basically identifies these as being elements of charisma. And so I'll go through them, and then let's just chat about it, because this is really cool. So the first one, he says purpose. If you think they have a plan, they'll follow you. The next one is mystery, which we've already covered. It says the mystery of contradiction, a hint of the uncanny, prophetic, occult, etc. I do agree with that. Without getting into chakras and enemas, I think there is something in that for sure. Then he says saintliness, and what he means by that is not, well, you could say, I mean, we're probably not icons of saintliness, but I think what he's really talking about here is having like strongly held belief in something. Like you've got that kind of like laser focus on what you believe in, and you're not going to be swayed. The next one is eloquence, power of words, being able to speak, being able to like verbally bamboozle, as Tom Torero used to call it. Theatricality, being larger than life, extra presence. And then this one's good. Uninhibitedness. Show that you are uninhibited. Radiate dangerous sexuality, a dreamlike quality to your voice and character, like rock star vibes. It's fucking, amazing stuff. There's a couple more. He says fervency, again, believing in something strongly. People want to believe in something. So if you look like you believe in something strongly, they're going to be attracted to that. This is an interesting one, right? Then he says vulnerability. Now we could maybe... let's come back to that, because on the one hand, we always tell guys, don't be vulnerable, don't show weakness. But I think you can put a little bit of it in, not necessarily weakness, but you can certainly show maybe vulnerability. Like if you're like a little bit nervous because she's so hot, if there's some authenticity in the approach, that can kind of work well, maybe.
You're right. For sure.
Then he says adventurousness. So are you a risk taker, brazen, courageous? That stuff obviously is chick crack. And then he says magnetism, which is the term that you've been discussing. So, sure. I mean, man, to me, there's some awesome stuff in there. But what do you make of that?
Fucking beautiful list, man. I'm just sitting there reflecting on my own. I'm reflecting on it, how that whole thing is. Saintliness for me on that one, I think that also has a bit to do with. This is going to sound really, in a way, cocky, but I think saintliness also is a means of promoting yourself as a higher class man.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like you're an elevated man.
Yeah. Okay.
You're of a higher strata. You're of a higher caliber. And I know that in today's society, people try to sit there and make it seem as though that is not a good thing. That's a shit test. That's a societal shit test to put you, like, if you want to be the crab in the bucket, like be the crab in the bucket, right? By making these choices. But like I myself, I mean, there's a reason why I'm wearing a fucking gold crown and shades right now, right? There's a reason why my fucking YouTube name is A God Amongst Men and stuff. Like I've elevated myself so far above most people in society. And it's not through stupid shit. It's just through my experiences in life, my own personal wisdom, the way I've pushed my own boundaries as well, that I've kind of realized, like, holy fuck, man, I'm in the 1%. Like if I'm about to be 35 next Saturday, right? On the 22nd. And I look back at my life as a 35-year-old man right now. And I'm just like, I've done so much. I've done so much. Like there's not a lot of people that can compare to me. I was like, why am I sitting here and trying to be a normie? Right? It's like, stop that. Stop tamping down. Like I talk about this in my new book. There's a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy. Like it is natural. It's 100% part of our society. It's part of our biology. Yeah. If you're an alpha, right? We're using these terms as placeholders. It is your duty to lead. Like you were born that way, or nature made you that way. It's your duty to do so. Yeah. So if that's your purpose, you need to live your purpose. You need to walk on that path. You need to take that as your identity, so to speak, and take it as a placeholder. There's pros and cons to it all. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So it doesn't mean that being that person, like everything's going to be peaches and cream, right? Yeah. It's like, oh man, like it's going to be tough, right? Yeah. It's tough to lead. It's not easy to lead. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on there. But let's talk about that vulnerability piece, man. I thought that was huge because in today's world, the feminine primary social order is going to sit there and be like, man, you need to be vulnerable. And what does that mean? Well, be vulnerable with your emotions and cry. Cry away. Show us your tears. And let me tell you one thing. Never fucking cry in front of a woman. Never, never cry in front of a woman. That is like the ultimate. I can feel it right now, seeing a woman watch a man cry, and she's just like seething with like that fucking knife that she's going to use that at some point to just stab you and cut you down. Right. Like that's what happens when you're vulnerable with a woman, with your deepest, darkest fears, your deepest, darkest secrets, all that stuff. That is not vulnerability. What I would say about vulnerability is instead, I really liked what you had to say, where if you're too cut and dry, if you're too good with the approach, if you're too good being kind of seductive in a way, this girl is going to get some red flags popping off of like, yo, this guy's a pro. Like this is like, I noticed this when I was doing my sales job, when my rap was starting to get too good and I was defeating their objections right then and there, and I had every answer and every whatever. It's almost like someone playing basketball, like you being 7 years old playing basketball against fucking Michael Jordan or something like it. It's like, all right, I can't play this game. It's like, you got to let people score sometimes, man. You know, like you got to let them know, like, all right, I am an earthly being, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I don't know about you, but I've noticed that when I've gone to have, approach women, had interactions with women, and when I've seen clients doing it as well, it's usually the ones where you are really attracted to that particular woman, that the spark is there in the conversation. It goes better. So even though those are they make you more nervous in a way, because it's like, oh my God, she's really hot or whatever. Conversely, they actually go better because there's something real about it, and that probably communicates itself in the way that you're coming across. Whereas, if you're just sort of like making up the numbers, if you're just sort of like, oh, let's warm up, I'll go and talk to her over by the bar, and she's like, you're not really feeling it, then that is going to fall very flat. So I think a sort of a betrayal of some sort of genuine emotion, it does add something to the interaction. She picks up on that as well, and that's why often those girls that this is why guys should always go for girls that they think are out of their league. If you're strongly attracted to her and you're like, she's out of my league, you should just go in anyway and just give it a go. Because for a start, what's the worst thing that could happen? But secondly, you'd be amazed at actually often how well those approaches can go, because there's some sort of fundamental pull between the two of you, that maybe you picked up on subconsciously or something. It's incredible. So that's kind of how I was reading that one. But yeah, don't start crying. That's not.
I also have one more thing on vulnerability too as well.
Yeah.
The difference between men and women when it comes to like social taboos and mores is this. It's men create fads. How do they do that? So what we do is we kind of like, we go out there and we try new things, right? We try doing different stuff that kind of goes against the status quo. And then ultimately what ends up happening is other people buy into it and it becomes more safe. And then women start to buy into it and then they consume it more and more and more and more until it becomes like popular. Right. So that's how trends become, trends become fads become mainstream. Right. So really what it comes down to with men is being vulnerable is doing things that kind of goes against the social mores as well. That's another area that you could be vulnerable. And it's just like, and that's what women find attractive too. That's why women like risk takers and all that stuff too, because men are constantly pushing the boundaries of different stuff. In today's world, approaching women is, I think that is taboo. Especially in the day and time, like especially because so many people are just sitting there addicted to their little binkies that they hold in front of their face to make them feel comfortable in society. Even going up to a girl and just making direct eye contact with her and being like, hi, and then throwing a smile at her. Huge. So being vulnerable in that sense, where it's like, yo, I'm risking my social credibility, right? I'm risking my social comfort. I'm risking my pecking order, so to speak, because we all, like I said, we all love being in that hierarchy. So the thing is, when you start to do these types of things, though, you elevate yourself in the hierarchy, and that's a scary thing. That really is a scary thing. You could sink or you could swim. So it's like, fuck, man, that's honestly, to me, that's being vulnerable. It's like you're risking a lot of stuff there.
That's true. And he also talks about uninhibitedness as well. And I mean, look, I want to get onto your book, so let's not dive too deep into that. But with that, you're being uninhibited. But there's also like a sexual component to that as well, he says, and it's like being uninhibited. Are you the kind of guy who's, you're not afraid of your sexuality. You're not afraid to own the fact that you are attracted to her. In fact, you're so attracted to her, you had to walk up and take that risk. And I mean, that's got to be part of it. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen so many guys doing approaches, and there's just no underlying sexuality in the interaction, and so it falls flat. And then she walks away. She might think, oh, he was kind of a nice guy, whatever, but there's no like edge to it. And part of that edge, I think, has to be that sexual sort of undertone. I'm not saying you in a creepy way or anything like that, but you've got to be sub-communicating that, right?
100%. Yeah, in the back of my mind, this is where most men go wrong, is they feel guilty for having a sexual desire or having a desire to bed the woman.
Yeah.
And then they also feel guilty for having that be the end state. And it's like, no, in every one of my objective, like in every one of my approaches, that's my objective. Now, before I get to that state, it's obviously getting the number. And then after that, it's having the charm and charisma and seduction to get her on a date. And then from there, it's getting her back to my house and having sex with her. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there has to be a subconscious communication of, yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm in front of you. And yes, I'm seducing you to have sex with you. And there's an agreement there. And this is one thing that I hate about what's going on in this like mainstream world today. And this is what I talk about with these girls on my post-sex interviews. Is they know it's there. They know it's palpable. And they agree to it because they want to be led by a strong man, and they want to be dominated, and they want to have that. They want to have that dance of mystery. So they agree to it, right? They know what's going on. They're absolutely 100% on board, but they're never going to verbally communicate it to you. So that's exactly how you have to lead. If you lead with the friend, if you lead with, oh, maybe this will be like a long term and I'm already going to box her into that, you're kind of already shooting yourself in the foot. You're leaving yourself open, right?
Yeah.
Like girls want, like, man, girls have two weapons, man. It's sex and tears. Honestly, right? You might as well use one of them. You might as well fight them with one of them. And when you're a man that can master the sexual game, women are just more drawn to you. They're like, finally, I don't have to be the one in control of this. Like, I can give that away to him. It's fucking awesome. They want to get lost in it. It's a beautiful fucking dance, man. It really is.
It is.
And that's,
yeah.
Go ahead.
It is a beautiful thing. And it's a shame, really, that because of political correctness, it's become sort of almost taboo it's taboo to talk about it. Maybe it's not a shame, though, in a way, because the more you push something underground, the more subversive it seems, then it's kind of like it's got that added extra excitement. But overall, it's just a bit of a shame that we can't, it's harder to acknowledge the beauty of those interactions, that dance that you're talking about, isn't it? It's just a bit of a shame it's been sort of like maligned in the way that it has. But the one word I can't stand is predatory. Right? Exactly.
Everything is predatory if you break it down some way. Everything is predatory.
Exactly. But listen, let's talk about your book, because obviously I know you've been working on this book for a long time. You've got this book coming out. Do you want to talk us through or tell us a bit about it and what guys
let's talk about a couple things. First and foremost, all right, let me copy this link so I can put it in the chat. Hey, come on. This cursor, man. Get out of here. All right, we'll come back to that in a second. Never mind. There you go. All right, cool. So for those of you guys that are unaware of my upcoming book, it's called Patriarch's Vision, Purging Feminism. I'm going to try to share screen here. Let's make sure we could do that. Blah. Share.
Cool.
There we go. So there's the book, Patriarch's Vision, Purging Feminism. Now, here's the thing, guys, is I wrote this book with the idea and understanding that one thing is obviously our society is messed up. We've seen some tremendous red flags. Our society is about to dive off the deep end for sure. Western civilization is approaching the precipice. I'm not the type of person to sit here and say, hey, guys, we need to go back. We need to go back and put the genie in the bottle, 1950s trad America, yeah, kind of thing. It's like, no, we can't do that kind of stuff. We need to know how to march forward. Also, the same boat, too. I'm not here to tackle feminism. I'm not here to try to fight it. Feminism has won, right? Like, Feminism has won. What we have to do instead as men, and this is what I do with my group, the War Tribe, as well, is I'm training men. I'm leading men in a direction of like, all right, how do we create a counterculture? And it's a resurgence, a renaissance of masculinity. And we create our own culture based off of that, right? So that's essentially what this book comes down to. What I mean here is this. A lot of men, though, in order for them to get there, they need to purge / remove feminism. Or feminist programming. Let me scoot that over. We need to purge feminist programming, the types of programming that you've had in your system from very early ages of having women be the protected class and men being the ones that are, I guess, disposable. And instead training men that, you guys are the prize. You guys are the center of your own reality, so to speak. And you create the best versions of society through having that kind of perspective. Now, there's one thing I want to share with you guys is this. Troy, I'm going to share this screen with you.
Yeah.
Here's the, not stop cam, silliness. Here's a table of contents. Just so you guys know, not that one. As you can see, I'm still fucking tech-tarded, bro.
It's kind of fiddly when you're on live, isn't it, sometimes?
Oh, it's fucking so fun. All right, so here's the table of contents, just so you guys are aware of what the book is about. And I'll just read it out because it's going to be hard for you to see. Cool. So what this book is about, first and foremost, is understanding society. So we have to understand society because there's a societal contract between everybody. We formed societies and civilizations just so we can continue to live, so that obviously our species can thrive. So that's really what we got to understand. Here's some basic rules, and they all build off of each other. And this is where we've gone wrong in our society today. It's not understanding our species from a biological level, right? So understanding the criterion for life and what our motivations are, because every single day you have a motivation. The number one motivation that you have is to survive. The second motivation you have, and this is from a cellular level, every single cell in your body is communicating this to you: survive and procreate, right? So what that comes down to is, from there, we have like base understandings that we have to realize of how we operate. The next thing we have to understand is we have to understand a true understanding of nature. I've already talked about hierarchy. I've already talked about a whole bunch of different stuff as far as that's concerned. I talk about not having survival skills. That's a huge thing, I think, when it comes to independence and all that good stuff. Not teaching self-defense. I go into a pretty good argument about how that leads to tyrannical governments and so forth. People pretty much selling their sovereignty over because they don't feel as though their life is worth their own protection. It's a sad thing, honestly. Lack of initiation into manhood and masculine mentorship. This is where I really start to turn up the heat as far as understanding why masculinity is necessary and why men evolve to be masculine. Not teaching philosophy. This is where I go into teaching people how to think instead of what to think, which is completely contrary to how all our forms of media and education are today. So I really tackle the school systems. I tackle religion in here. I tackle government and all that good stuff. Failure to foster the positive feminine. Now, for those of you guys that aren't aware, and I'm going to put this link in the chat as well right now on YouTube. If you're interested in hearing anything about this book, please get on my mailing list right now. And I'm going to send you a free chapter as well. It doesn't look like they're copied properly. That's weird. Oh, man, that changed things up. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's the wrong link. Beep. Let me repaste that in there. All right, so hop on my mailing list because you will get a free chapter of my book, and that free chapter is going to be the failure to foster the positive feminine. What's that all about? Well, this is the only part of the book where I really talk about feminism and how it's actually destroyed the feminine, and how the feminine in reality is destroying masculinity. And they don't realize that in doing so, that they're pretty much killing themselves. They're killing their own happiness. So that's kind of like my one argument that I have in this entire book about feminism. After that, failure to understand spirituality. So I tackle religion, and I talk about individual sovereignty to be able to explore your own spirituality. Troy's had me on here before where I talked about my experiences with iboga and ayahuasca and my own spiritual journeys. That's essentially how I've gotten to arrive to all these conclusions as well. And then finally, the last chapter is the failure to understand the sexual marketplace. And this is important. And that's actually one of my longest chapters. People who don't understand the sexual marketplace are at a disadvantage already. Why? Well, because rule number 1 is survive. Rule number 2 is procreate. So the longest standing marketplace on the planet is the sexual marketplace. There's rules by which we operate, right? Sexual market value, how each sex values the other sex oppositely. You know what I'm saying? So if you're able to understand the sexual marketplace, then you're able to then create your own sexual strategy, which would then maximize your sexual value, which would then lead you to be able to garner a relationship or direction by which you need to go, which would lead then to the ultimate form of happiness, because that's your place, right? That's your market. You need to be able to sell to your market. If you're not operating like, so the reason and what's wrong with my SMB's over 9,000, that's perfect. I can't even tell you what mine is. It's a secret. So what it comes down to with that is we live in a time frame right now where the sexual marketplace has been socialized by women, right? It's literally socialism on the sexual marketplace. That's essentially what open hypergamy is, right? So if we understand the sexual marketplace and we kind of create a free sexual marketplace over again, I think that's actually what's going to lead to the pendulum swinging back to there being a balance. So the book is going to be released March 1st. Do get on the mailing list so you can get this free chapter. And I will also, I got some things in the works right now too. I believe I'm going to do a bit of a pre-sale here coming up here soon. So you definitely want to get on board with that. And with the pre-sale, I'm going to be offering discounted prices to those people that are on my mailing list and mailing list alone. So make sure you do click that link, put your email in. I will get you a free chapter later on today. And obviously keep an eye on the emails that I put out so that we can, one, coordinate this so that we can make a splash, obviously, when it gets dropped on Amazon. And so you could do the pre-sale and get some discounts on the price tag. Because after the release date, I'm gonna push the prices up to normal prices. So
yeah, cool. And we'll put the link in the description below the video as well. So that
perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So that guys can click through to that when after on the replay. Well, mate, listen, thanks for that. That's been absolutely. It sounds fascinating. It really, really does. And I know there's more to come, isn't there, as well? I think you're working on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but there may even be a sequel at some point. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah.
There's a lot to get through, guys. But
yeah, there's a part 2 coming for sure. But let's see how this splashes first. Obviously, I need to continue and finish my work, but for now, it's a few more things are out on the horizon. Obviously, if you're not a part of the War Tribe, join the War Tribe. I do webinars with the War Tribe every Sunday. It's also a forum and a texting group, so to speak, where you have direct access to me and other like-minded men that are really working on the money, muscles, game aspect. And yeah, that's that, man. Stop over at my YouTube channel, God Amongst Men. Hit the like or hit the subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm at 913 right now. I'm pushing to 1,000 so I can get that super chat function. So I definitely need your help there. It's a struggle, dude.
Yeah, it is. No, great stuff, mate. Well, it's been awesome having you on, and the book sounds absolutely fascinating. I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, there's loads of interesting stuff in there, and your perspective on, well, everything really. I mean, life, spirituality, the sexual marketplace is unique in this space, and I can't wait to read the book for sure. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on replay, thanks for watching. Just on my side of things, please do hit subscribe to my channel because I'm pushing up my subscribers as well. So, any support is much welcomed. And anyway, I'm putting out videos pretty much every day during the week now. So you want to be up to date with that. Also, click the little notifications bell next to it as well. And then say that you want to get all notifications. Do that on Corey's channel as well so that you guys... it goes into the top of your feed when we do a new video. What else? Get on my mailing list. I've got a daily email that goes out. I do a free article Monday to Friday, straight to your inbox, absolutely free. The link is below, so do click on that. And finally, as always, Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is 11 of my books in a digital bundle. Incredible value, 5 years worth of of knowledge and wisdom gained in the trenches of international debauchery and degeneracy. It's all there. It's only $39, and that price will have to go up at some point. So do get on board with that. Click the link below. And yeah, that's it. Any parting words, Corey, or should we call it a day?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man, as always.
No problem. Pleasure as always. Good stuff. All right. See you later, guys. Tune in next time. Bye-bye.